I want to welcome you all to our Traverse PC April web seminar. We're going to be looking at drawing templates today. We get a lot of questions about this. We haven't done anything new recently to drawing templates, but we thought it'd be a good webinar to just kind of walk through the pieces and pick up some pointers on it. I want to cover just some housekeeping details real quick. You received an email if you signed up for the webinar. They gave you a link to this CE request form. When the seminar is done, you've got 1 hour to submit that request. You need to turn in a 3-digit code that I'm going to be giving you during the seminar, so you're going to put it in right here. And if we get that request within the hour with the correct code, we'll honor that CEU request and send you a certificate. For connection members, it's free. If you're not a connection member, there is a charge of $150 for that. And it's between you and your state as to whether or not they'll accept those credits. We go ahead and provide the opportunity through this form. So I'll stop 3 times during the presentation and present that code 1 letter at a time, and just pause when I do that so you can write it down. Make sure you're paying attention there. When we're all done, I'll open it up for questions if we have time, but I can tell you there's a lot of stuff here. I'm not necessarily going to push real hard, but I'm just going to walk through it, and we'll see if we have time at the end for questions. Prior to that, I'll have you muted on my end, so I won't be hearing you. That gets kind of distracting. You can send me a text on the chat if you have something real important. If not, I appreciate just kind of letting me get through all the pieces, and then we'll see if we have time there at the end. Okay, let's start by taking a look at how you're going to learn about drawing templates in Traverse PC. I always take people here to the Learning Center. I want you to know that there are learning guides. So right off the bat, I can go into the learning guides. They're available from the program, or I can come here at the Learning Center. And if I go down to the Drawing Learning Guide and the table of contents, there's a chapter on using drawing templates. So we give you a brief explanation of what they are. Usually we give you a sample file to load. And then look at this, it's Cookbook. Start a new drawing with a template. Here's 2 steps. Automatic survey position and scale. We tell you how that works. Then if you want to create a new template, or you want to edit an existing template, or using groups inside of templates, all of that's available to you here in the Learning Guide in kind of cookbook format. Then I want to show you that there's a tab up here for drawings, and that's going to take you to sort of a quick synopsis of how Traverse PC handles drawings. But I want to point this out to you. There's a customer area and a link here for Drawing Learning Center, and that's where I want to go first today. So in the Drawing Learning Center, I've got access to the same help topics you have access to in the program, except here it's bringing them up from our website. And right here I see drawing templates, and I can go in and learn all about drawing templates with links to other help topics. Or I can come back to the Learning Center and scroll down through sort of major areas to do with drawings. So here's working with drawings and final drawings. Here's managing drawings. Here's drawing templates. If I open this up, I have direct access to that same help topic on drawing templates. And then I've got 5 videos here. Most of these are pretty short, 1 or 2 minutes long, maybe 3 minutes. And they just kind of tell you where something's at, how to access it, and maybe give you a real quick overview of it. So not a lot of detail here, but I just want you to know that depending on how you learn, you can bring up the help topics inside the program or from the Learning Center, and this is like an old manual. You can watch the videos if that's how you learn, or you can go to those learning guides with the step-by-step instructions. We put a lot of time into these resources. We want people to be successful with Traverse PC. And so you're going to find quite a bit of information in there on drawing templates. And pretty much everything I cover today, I think you'll find in there. So a lot of you know when I do these web seminars, I like to start with a real world example, just because that's kind of how my brain works. So I'm going to jump into a project I've been working on and just kind of show you how I use templates in it, and then we'll come back and talk about the different pieces of this outline here. I'm also going to pause here real quick and give you your first code for those of you that are getting requesting CEU credits. Okay. I used this particular project about a year ago in the planning webinar, and at that time the city was requiring that we design this for what they call it downtown district zoning. So this particular project was in this downtown district zoning that required pedestrian scale lighting, 16 feet high, required 8-foot sidewalks. It had quite a list of things, and it was driving the cost of the project up. So I had gone through several revisions, and finally we just sat down and said, we need some relief on this from the city. And the city said, well, actually, this zoning is outside of our long-term plan, and we would like to have you put in a request for a change to commercial zoning. The city can't do that, but actually in this particular case, it's a win-win for us and for the city, and we can go back to 20-foot lighting, 5-foot sidewalks, just typical kind of commercial construction. So we were all excited about that. We put in that application, and we just got approved last month, March 18th. So we're now zoned commercial, and I've got to call into the city to sit down and kind of back up through some of our revisions and find out exactly which direction they want us to go with this now. This happens to be a parking lot for a church in town, and I'm doing it free gratis. So those are the projects that always take the longest and cost me the most, but I'm happy to do it. Okay, so let's take a look at how I'm using templates in this particular project. I'm just going to open up some of the drawing vision. Here's the grading and drainage drawing, and just notice I've got the same proposed crossroads assembly, the location, the date up here in the revision. I've got a legend, a scale bar, my address and phone number, title block, north arrow. I go to the parking layout, kind of the same layout, same layout. Okay, so I have an opportunity then, as I work within this project, to actually create a template for this project. And I actually ended up doing that. And I'm just going to walk you through a couple of those so you can see how I do that. Here's one of the transect drawings. There was a couple of them. They wanted transects north and south, east and west before we did any of the grading on it. And then, of course, when I go over to the paving contractors, they like to know that I've got at least a 2% grade, because it's easier for them to get the pavement in without having issues with water standing. So they're going to be okay with this 1.87, but that's kind of the reason we do these typicals like this for it. So I want to create a template so that I can do additional transects, and I want to show you how we do that. I'm going to right-click this drawing, go to Tools, Save Drawing as a template. Now I could do the same thing by going to Tools, Save Drawing as Template here as well. I tend to right-click and then use that context menu to do what I want to do. So I'm going to go in and tell Traverse PC that I want to create this transect, and I saved it earlier, so I'm just going to overwrite it here. Okay, now I can go into the drawings, and I can tell Traverse PC I want to insert a new drawing below that. Now, I could double-click a blank line down below, but when I insert here, it adds this new drawing as part of this revision group here. So it just kind of groups them nicely for me. And I've got an A1 transect that I want to look at. So I'm going to go in and select that particular transect traverse. Okay, the pull-down list here gives me all the traverse drawing templates, that are available in what Traverse PC calls the program data folder. So Windows has a program data folder, Traverse PC has a subfolder in it, and this version of Traverse PC has a subfolder. So I'm in the templates folder here where all my drawing templates are listed, and I'm going to select this transect. I'm going to clear all tag traverses, and I don't know if I have to do this or not because I'm already in profile mode with that template. So let's choose OK. And I see that I started a new drawing, but I had some of the leftover pieces from the drawing that I saved. And that's typical. That can be typical when I use an existing drawing to create a template. So I just need to come in and select a couple of these things. Okay, right click to tell it I'm done selecting, right click any one of them, oops, and delete them. I will tell you from experience, I almost always come in and do a zoom extents. I just want to see if there's anything else in there that's a survey space, and sure enough, look what I've got down here. So I've got something down here that was left over in that drawing. If I put the cursor over it, it's a dimension. So I can either window multiple objects or I can just delete them one at a time. I don't think I had many there. Okay, so now I've got my template looking a little better. We're going to take a look at this in more detail later, but because I've modified this, I've changed what's in the template a little bit, I want to come in and resave that again. So Tools, Save Drawing as Template, and I'm just going to overwrite that transect template. So it just cleans it up a little bit. So now I've started a new drawing with this template, and I can go into my traverses, and I use traverse groups just like I use drawing groups, and I can add transect AA1 to this template. And the template is smart enough to know that I can retain the scale from the template if that works, or in this case, I could pick a better scale, so it did. It remembered that I had a grid in the template. It remembered settings like I've exaggerated the vertical scale 10 times the horizontal scale. Okay, so all those things that were part of the drawing originally were saved in that template, and all I have to do is turn on a traverse, and away I go. Pretty nice. Now, I saved this template in the program data folder, so any other server has access to that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and let's go back and look at our outline. So I want to talk next about what gets saved and what doesn't, but I don't want to look at a profile template. I want to look at a plan template because I think that'll make better sense for us. So let's drag this back over here. Let's go back to our drawing, like this graphic drawing here, and let's make a template out of this. So I'm going to right-click, Tools, Save Drawing as Template. Okay, now this time, I'm not going to put this in the program data folder. I'm going to go into my surveys, and I pulled this particular job over from the server because I'm going to be working on it again. And I'm going to save this as a plan template. Again, I did this earlier, but I'll just overwrite it. And now I'm going to start a new drawing. And let's call this Drawing Proposed Flat Work. The city is going to require that we come in and improve the corners here for ADA compliance. So we're going to do the northwest corner, the southwest corner. We're going to improve this driveway cut again for ADA compliance. And then we're going to abandon a couple of driveway cuts up here, put in some new ones, again, for ADA compliance. So we've got a fair amount of flat work that has to happen here. And so I may want to put a drawing together, probably for the contractor, so that they know exactly what we're asking them to do. And I'm going to use this same transect template that I just created. I'm going to clear all the tags. I'm going to be in plan view. Let's hit OK. I didn't get what I was expecting there. So let's go ahead and so you get for doing these things live. Okay, we're going to call it Proposed Flat Work. Okay, I want to go browse to my surveys folder. There we go. That's what I expected to get. So now I have a new drawing called Proposed Flat Work based on this template. So it brought in my title, my legend, scale bar, all the stuff that I expected to be part of the template. And I'm simply going to come in now, double click this, and I'm going to say Proposed Flat Work. And the new date, okay? I'm probably going to come in and right-click one of these arrows, go to Layer Tools, Modify Layer, turn that layer off, which cleans it up quite a bit. And you can see that I actually have all the layers from that original drawing in here. So if I go Tools, Layers, one of the nice things about templates is that they retain all those layers for me. And I can simply turn a layer off if it has something on it that I don't want. Or the nice thing about having a layer there is that if I want to be consistent throughout all these drawings, I'm not going to have a layer named typed one way and then typed differently in another drawing. You know, that would make a headache for a engineer working with this. So I want to keep these consistent as possible, and the templates allow me to do that with the layer names. So now I can come over to my traverses, and I can say I want to turn on all of the parking stuff, because that's got my pavement cuts and where those are going to go. And I might even want to come into my point codes, because I think I've got some top face of curb and sidewalk, that sort of thing. So I can add in what I want pretty quick now and start getting at what I want for this drawing to be just by turning on traverses and then coming in and typing in the additional text that I need, putting in leaders or dimensions or dynamic offsets, whatever I need to finish the drawing. But the template provided so much of that for me. And I don't know if you noticed this, but it came in automatically at 25 feet to the inch. So it remembered the scale from the template. It positioned everything right here in this drawing where it was positioned in a previous drawing. So Traverse PC takes the center of the survey and offsets it from the center of the page and stores that in the template. And then I just want to, you saw it, the layers were saved. So the layers were part of the template. Okay. And I just want to give you a little heads up, we'll look at it a little bit later, that the drawing settings are also part of this. So some of you go into your background clearing and you turn it all off. Some of you turn this on. Okay. So if I turned this on before I saved that template, it would now be on in this drawing created from that template. So those track through as well. Really nice to have all these things kind of follow along with me in this new drawing. So I'm really set up the way I want to go. So let's take a real quick look at some of the templates that Traverse PC provides, these stock templates. And we're going to camp out a little bit at this Traverse template. So let's take a look at the stock templates and the Traverse template. I'm going to just create a new drawing, doesn't matter what, and I'm going to browse. So Traverse PC includes templates that ship with the program for cross sections, for site, mortgage, a couple for the BLM, and it's got some of these special ones. Kogo is the one Traverse PC uses when you ask to view a Kogo solution. So you've computed an intersection or an offset of some kind, and Traverse PC lets you plot that in a temporary drawing. It's going to use the settings of that Kogo template to create that drawing. The default says if Traverse PC creates a traverse for you or a drawing for you without going through a template, this is what it's going to do. So the first time I start a new survey and open a drawing, it'll be a default drawing for me. I'm going to camp out just a little bit on this Traverse DRT and show you what this does. I'm going to go back to the traverses, and I want to open Final Pavement. What if I want to see what's in this traverse all by itself? Traverse PC has a button that says, draw just this traverse. So Traverse PC comes in and opens a new temporary drawing that draws just that traverse using the Traverse template. Now, the template included a arrow, scale bar, and a border. That's it. It positioned the survey at the center of the page, so it kind of like does a zoom extents for it, and overrides the scale of the template. And it shows me the settings that are used by that traverse. So this particular traverse, the Final Pavement, is shaded with this sort of teal border. I'm going to show you what I do with this traverse template. Now, the templates I'm showing you today are the ones we ship the program with, but you're free to overwrite these. And in fact, if you update to a newer version of Traverse PC, that newer version will say, do you want to copy those old templates forward? And that old Traverse template will be in your new version of Traverse PC. So here's what I do. I go to Tools, Drawing Settings, and I come in, and if I think I'm going to be drawing a lot in this Traverse template, I can change things like leaders. I generally don't. I come into the miscellaneous and I say, I want to override the Traverse settings. So instead of that Traverse controlling how it's being drawn, I'm going to come in and pick something like imported data. So I'm going to get red triangles. I might want to display distances on there, okay? And I can come in and say, okay, that's the way I want that to draw now. I'm going to apply that. Maybe I want these a little bit bigger here. So I'm going to go in and, oh, I didn't hit OK. Let's go and say, okay, I'm going to double click here. See how it says the drawing settings are overwritten? So I should have probably recalled that. Okay, that's what I want. And then I want these labels to be just a little bit bigger. So now this particular Traverse is being drawn with these settings because they're overriding the Traverse's own drawing settings. And I might want to turn around now and say Tools, Save Drawing as Template, and simply overwrite that Traverse. Now, anytime I view a Traverse all by itself using this button, this command, it's going to look like this. This color, these labels, that sort of thing. So real nice way for me to go in and customize that. And I just want you to see that although we ship them this way, you're free to overwrite those however you want. Of course, when I'm done, I just tell it, hey, I'm going to close that out, get back to my other drawing, and I don't want to save that as a temporary drawing. I want to get back to what I was working on here. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover about the stock templates. You're, of course, going to go in and add your own templates as you want in there. Now, let's go back to our outline here real quick. And let's kind of jump right into the kind of the nuts and bolts of it here. We're going to start a drawing from a template and then change the page size, orientation, and margins, kind of see how we do that. So let's come back to our project here. Let's go back to our drawings. And I'm going to create a new one here. I'm going to call this Proposed Survey. And I'm going to start this based on the site template. Now, because I'm not browsing, this is going to the program data folder. And just like I did before, I'm going to clear all tags, do a plan view, and bring up a site template. Now, I'm going to go back to the church and propose that we do a property survey because they want to put a fence in alongside the alley over here on the east side. Okay. We've got just one pin down here that we found. Everything else is kind of oriented off of street center lines and giving the right-of-ways full right-of-way width. It'd take a little more field work out there to proportion in this pin on the northeast up here and the pin halfway down on the east side. But I'm thinking maybe they would want to have this all done now since the fence is going up. So what I did real quick, I just started a new drawing using the site survey template. It's one that we ship with Traverse PC. And you know how you can go in and change it now if you want it to be different. But this is real typical of what I do. I start the drawing and I say the template was set to 30 feet to the inch, pretty much centered here on the page. Well, I'm going to do a zoom extents with this. Oops, get back over here. And see that I'm really close to that 30 feet to the inch. What if I went down to 40 feet to the inch and just move this over here like this? So now I can bring my north arrow up, my scale bar over if I want. And I could probably do this drawing at 40 feet to the inch. Now, I want to go ahead and after I've scaled it and after I've positioned it, I'm ready to just finish this thing up and show where the found pins are, show where I'm proposing that we set some new pins, file a survey for this, and probably charge them for that part of it. Or if they don't want me to do it, they can have another surveyor do it. They give them an idea of what it will cost to have that done. But I want to, just real quick, come back to this whole thing about getting just what I want out of this, and having this template set up exactly the way I want it to work. Because if I can, kind of the measure of how good a template is how much work do I have to do after I started a new drawing with the template. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to identify down here that I found a 1-inch iron pipe of record. So I'm going to put a leader in there, probably to that point. Do you know about orthogonal lines? That if I hold down the control key, no matter where the cursor is, it draws horizontal or vertical. So I'm going to get over about where I want, left click, and then come up to about where that corner is, left click, and I put my leader in. But that's not what I want my leaders to look like. Okay, so I'm going to go to Tools, Drawing Settings. I'm going to click on Leaders. I'm going to say I want leaders to be solid. I want them to have an arrow. I want the arrow to be pretty small. That angle's good, color's good. I'm happy with all that. So now it redraws that leader like that. Let's say I'm going to put in some setbacks in here because I want to show how far that. There you go, dynamic offsets. Okay, so I'm going to put an offset here. I'm going to go perpendicular to this line. Okay, but I don't want the dynamic offsets to look just like that. So let's go into Tools, Drawing Settings, Dynamic Offsets, and I want these to be gray, not light gray, or it won't show up on a copy. And I want to use Arial font because I do that for everything. And I'm good with, oh, let's do the little arrows again. Those are just nicer. Okay, so now I've got some consistency in my arrows, my solid lines. I'm varying the color a little bit. My fonts will all be the same. So now that I've got this set up the way that I want, and of course I can come in and add any layers that I want to add to the layers in this. Now that I've got it set up the way I want, I'm going to go Tools, Save Drawing as Template, and I'm going to overwrite the site template. When I create a new drawing next time with the site template, it's going to have those leaders and dynamic offsets defined like that for me. So I'm going to come back here now and say I was just updating the template is all real quick. So I'm going to delete that. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually start a new drawing from a template. I won't tag any traverses. I'm not actually working on a particular drawing, but I'll just change the settings to what I want. Add any layers that I want, change the scale to what I want, change any drawing settings that I want, and then I'll overwrite the original template, and I've got an updated template ready to go. In this particular case, though, I've got what I want now, and I'm just going to play around a little bit, saying, okay, this was 17 by 11. What if I wanted to go a little bit bigger on this? So I'm going to go to Page Setup. I'm going to say, I think I'm going to do a C-size drawing for this, still in landscape, still with a 1/2 inch all the way around, because now I can get a better shot at the scale that I want. So now I can pick up a scale of, can't quite get 20 feet to the inch, but I will be able to get 30 feet to the inch. I move this around a little bit and have a little more room on the page to draw something up and present to them. Maybe I've got some information down here across from 9th Street that I need to bring in. There was another survey done just up here in the northwest that referenced a PK in the road here. And if I can tie into that survey, I'll have pretty much everything west here that I can hang my hat on. I'll just have to work east to finish this up. So did you see what happened with the template? I went from 11 by 17 to a 24 by 18, and all of these paper space items stayed in their nearest corner. That works also if I change landscape to portrait. Okay, I went into print setup. Didn't have to go that far back, but let's change it to landscape or to portrait. So now I could have a portrait drawing like this, And this would allow me more room to reference this survey to the north here and still have some room down here to reference anything to the south. So this might be a better layup, and I did it all with the same template. So I haven't changed templates to do this, to change the size or the orientation. I just used my existing template and did a page setup. Let's get it back to about like what we had before. Go to page setup. And I'm going to say I want to go back to that 11 by 17. And I want to do landscape. And of course, my scale is out. Okay, so I need to change my scale now back to the 40 feet to the inch and reposition the survey on the page, because that's just survey space stuff that's getting scaled and moved. The paper space stuff is still anchored to the nearest corner of the page. So that whole thing about being able to use one template for any page size, orientation, that sort of thing is really huge in Traverse BC. Years ago, a lot of years ago, when I did this in CAD, I remembered that I had a great idea of something that I should put in the template, but I had 4 or 5 templates for that particular kind of survey. So I had to edit 4 or 5 template drawings and keep it consistent. And it was just too much work. So we switched to this kind of a dynamic template, and I think it's a real time saver, and I would have a real hard time going back to a CAD style template because of it. Okay, so that's starting a drawing from a template and changing the page size, orientation, and margins once we've already created that drawing. I will also mention that all of the Traverse BC templates that we ship do use the Traverse BC PDF driver. So you might have any number of printers or plotters that you could set a template up for, but what happens if you replace that printer or that plotter? So Traverse BC is going to have to say, I know what size the drawing is, but I can't talk to that printer or plotter anymore. So it's better, I think, to use something you know is going to be there all the time, like the Traverse BC PDF driver. And also I can select, I think, up to architectural E-size drawings with it. So I can do any page size orientation I want to with that. And it's just I think it's a cleaner way to do templates. Okay, let's drop back out to our outline again. And let me go ahead and bring up the second code for our webinar today. Okay, let's take a look at that outline. And the next thing we want to do is applying a template to an existing drawing. And I want to look at this option to delete objects on import. So let's take a look at that. So maybe I've started this drawing without a template. So I'm going to select all the paper space objects in the drawing. I'm just going to delete one of those, and they'll all be deleted. So I started out with this particular drawing. I just used an empty drawing, or I used the default drawing, however I may have done that. And I've got the traverses tag that I want, and I want to say, okay, now I want to apply a template to this. How do I do that? Because I don't want to start a new drawing. I've already got a drawing started. So I go to Tools, Import Data into Drawing. And one of the options I have here is a drawing template. And the only setting in here is whether or not I want to delete objects on import. And if I bring up the help topic, it says, do I want to get rid of everything that I just got rid of myself and bring in just the stuff from the template, or do I want to leave everything in here that the drawing already has? Okay, so I probably better give you some idea of that. Let's go ahead and put anything in paper space here, some text. And we're going to say, record survey CS 14356. Okay, so I put that in paper space, and I want to leave that. I don't want that to disappear when I bring the template in. So let's go ahead and say Tools, Import Data into Drawing, select a template, Drawing Template, and we'll say, no, I don't want to delete the objects on import. So let's go ahead and tell Traverse BC now that we want to bring in which template. Let's bring in our site template. import it. And look what Traverse BC did. It brought in all of the same template information that we saw earlier, but it retained the stuff I had already added to the drawing. So it's kind of a quick way for me to say, hey, I already started working on the drawing, so bring in the template but leave what I've already done. Or I can say, maybe I started with the wrong template. So just delete all that stuff, keep my traverses and my survey stuff, but delete all that old template stuff and bring in the new template stuff. So it's pretty flexible as far as how I get to a new drawing ready to go. And did you see what it did? It centered this, rescaled it here because it wouldn't fit. So it took the liberty to do that. And now I can just set this up like I did the last one. So I just wanted you to see real quickly that I can take any existing drawing and apply a template to it with some flexibility as to how I actually do that. Let's go back to our outline now. And the next thing I want to show you is creating a new template, and then I want to talk about naming templates. Okay, so let's create a new template. I'm going to go in and open up one of our sample surveys from one of our surveyors down in California. And I think I've got an object in his drawing that I don't have available to me. And let's take a look at the sheet 1 on this. So this is a parcel map, and in San Bernardino County, he's got this submitted per the county's requirements. So what if I've got additional surveys that I'm going to need this sheet 1 for? It makes sense just to create a template for it and to put it in the program data folder and have it copied forward each time I update my version of Traverse BC, so I've always got this template. So watch how we do that. We're going to go right-click, Tools, Save Drawing as Template. Let's save it right here, and let's call it San Bernardino County Sheet 1. Okay, don't know if I spelled all that right and everything, but now I've got a template set up for that, so I could just as easily come over and start a new drawing. I'm going to call it Sheet 2. I don't know, that would work. And I'm going to go into the templates here and start it with that template. Clear all tags, hit OK, away I go. So I now have a new drawing, Sheet 2, with everything that was in that template originally. Now, I even have put in stuff like the sample survey, or sometimes I say preliminary survey, so it's not ready to file, it's ready for review or something. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into Layers. I don't see a layer that I would put that on to turn it off, so I'm going to add Unused, or let's call it Preliminary. I might have other stuff that I want to have be part of that. And I'm going to double click this text now and move that to the preliminary layer. And I can go back now and update the template so that this sample text, or sample survey text, was on the preliminary layer. So that now I can come into any new drawing, and when I'm ready to file it, just go into Layer Tools, Modify a Layer, turn it off. So it and any other preliminary text now are turned off. They're still in the drawing because they were in the template, but I'm just not going to turn them on when I submit it. And now I can come in and update locations, clients, dates, all that sort of stuff with this ready to go. So I don't have to recreate this every time. You saw me earlier duplicate a drawing, but that doesn't help me. I'd have to go back and remember which survey I submitted this sheet in, and then duplicate it in that survey or export that drawing as its own survey. I mean, I go through a lot of steps. The drawing templates just make all that really, really easy for me. So I want you to see that that's a really clean way for me to get sheets like this put together just by making a template out of them. Now, did you know that when I was in looking at templates here, that I'm pretty descriptive. So I named this one Dependent Resurvey, so I know that's a BLM Dependent Resurvey. But this one I named Independent Resurvey Oregon. So this one has got some additional text in it that's specific to Oregon. It might have the name of the BLM Chief of Surveys in it already, so don't have to type that in each time. It might have a specific affidavit that I want. In fact, let's just go ahead and open it up and look at it here, just so I can see. Yeah, so you can see it's got all kinds of stuff in it here that is specific to the Oregon BLM. It's got, depending on the Willamette Meridian, okay, so it's specific to Oregon. I might be in a different township range, but they would all be referenced to the Willamette Meridian. So it's nice to have those templates set up for me, and it's really important then to think in terms of, I want to be descriptive. So San Bernardino County Sheet 1 drawing template lets me know what that is, okay? I might have, now site is very specific, but I might have specific requirements for Lane County that I don't have for Douglas County, the two counties that we survey in the most. And I might say, okay, then I'm going to create a Douglas County site and Lane County site and be as descriptive as I need to be there so that I can know I grabbed the right template. It's also easy enough just to start a drawing from that template and see what's in it. Okay, so next time I go to do this, I can say, well, what's in the dependent survey here? Oh, I see. That's got the scale bar, the north arrow. It's also Willamette Meridian. Okay, this is actually a better template. I should probably start my surveys out of this template because it's got more stuff in it. But now that I've identified that, I can say, well, I don't need any of these in this particular drawing, particular survey, and just get rid of those because they're all just new drawings from a template, so I can recreate those quite easily. Okay, let me just look at my notes here real quick. Okay, I think that's probably good enough for that. Let's bring our outline back up. So once we've edited existing templates, and I've kind of done that all along, so I'm not going to go back, other than I just want to emphasize I can edit any existing template by opening it, changing it, and then saving it as a template again. So I just open that, create a new drawing with that template, make whatever changes I want in layers, drawing settings, adding paper space text, bring in an affidavit that I want, or a place to insert a legal description later on, whatever I want to do. Tables, legends, grids, all those things can be brought in, and then I just save it again over the top of the original file, and it'll say, do you want to replace it? And I say yes, and then I've got that template updated. Okay, so let's go on and talk about CAD templates versus Traverse PC templates. In Traverse PC, we've taken a look at the fact that one size fits all, so I don't have a template for each page size and orientation for site work. I just have a site template, and it accommodates all those page sizes and orientations because the paper space items, objects in the drawing, are attached to a corner of the drawing, and they stay attached to that corner when I do all that. We talked about how I use PDF to plot and expand. Oh, I didn't talk about that yet. I generally use the PDF drivers to in the templates because I generally have all my drawings plotted to PDF, and this drawing is plotted to PDF, for example. So if I turn around now and tell Traverse PC that I want to plot this, I'm going to go to Print Setup, and I've selected the Traverse PC PDF, and this is an Architectural D landscape. And I don't know, top 7, I don't think he had quite that margin there. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I guess those are the margins he has. That's kind of unusual. This isn't one of my drawings, so I'm just kind of figuring that out there. But now I'm going to go ahead and print that. And let's talk about why I use PDFs so oftentimes. Is that I can go ahead and save that. That's good enough. And Traverse PC is going to bring that up so I can view it now. Well, I can plot this on a 24 by 36 sheet of paper and get the scale and size that Traverse PC would plot it at. But the advantage of a PDF is that I can also reprint this on an 11 by 17 or 8.5 by 11, whatever size I want, and it'll shrink everything down. So it won't be the scale anymore, and this text might be harder to read. But PDFs allow me that flexibility to do that. So I tend to want to have my drawings all default to the PDF printer, which they do if they're created from a template that uses that printer. And then if I'm going to plot it locally, I can just change the printer when I go to plot. So it's easy for me to do it that way. Okay, so let's take a look at then import existing CAD templates. I'm going to start a new drawing for this, just for the fun of it. And we're going to call this import CAD template. I could do this in an existing survey. That would be fine also, because I'm not going to keep this drawing. I'm just going to create a template of it. This makes it real easy now for me to come in, create a new drawing in this survey, and I'm going to call this CAD 36 by 24, and then you can call it, you know, whatever else it is. Let's call this a phase sheet that I would use for that. I'm going to select an empty template, and I'm going to tell Traverse PC that I want to change the page setup to Architectural D. Landscape. Okay, because that's what this CAD drawing would open up. Let's go ahead and just pull that up real quick in the CAD drawing so you can see which one I'm going to bring in and what we're going to do with that. I've got that over here in Surveys, right here, GF Border. So here's the drawing I'm going to bring in. It's basically set to fit on a 36 by 24 sheet of paper, and they've used this outside here as 22 by 34. You're going to see that in a minute. So it gives me a handy way to kind of size it to my drawing here. But this actually is, I think, 1 feet to the inch. It's almost done like a block almost, and that's typical of a lot of CAD stuff. They call it 1 by 1 blocks, and then that sets it up to apply the drawing scale. A lot of people don't use layouts quite the way CAD was intended, so we see a lot of people with templates like this. It's not unusual, so it's probably a good one to show you with. Let's go ahead and import that into Traverse PC now. So Tools, Import Data. We're going to select DWG, and I'm going to turn on block. Yeah, I want this to explode any unknown stuff in there. And then let's browse to that file. It was in Surveys. It was GF Border, and let's import that. Okay. What I want to do now, I want to take a look at this. This is all survey space. That's how it comes in inside Traverse PC. I'll redraw it here. There we go. So the text is scaled to the survey scale. The lines here are all in survey units. I'm eventually going to end up converting this to inches and putting in paper space. But first I need to come in and look at this a minute. And I'm just going to put a tooltip over this. And I can see that the vertical line is 22, so 22 inches for what I want. The horizontal line is 34. So I'm going to go into my print page setup, and I need to put a 1-inch margin all the way around. So now I'm going to take a 24 high, and my border is going to be at 22. I'm going to take a 36 wide, and my border is going to be at 34. So that's going to match me up pretty closely with that. Now I'm going to do a zoom extent. So they stuck to the 1-in-1 for their CAD stuff. And I'm just going to drag this over until it kind of just fits in there. And all I have now is cleaning up some of this. I'm not even sure what this was, why they had that in there. I can delete it now, or I can delete it after the fact. That's just fine. I basically got everything ready to go, but it's still in survey space. So I want this to be in paper space so that when I add my survey, I can rescale my survey, position it on the page, and all of this is going to stay put on the page. So watch what I do. I select all paper space objects. Oops, I want to select all survey space objects. Say all get selected. Then I put the cursor over any one of them. I right click, modify objects, and I just want to toggle space. So I just toggled the space of all those selected objects. So now they are all paper space objects. See? So I can come in now, pick an appropriate scale for this as a template. Maybe I went 50 feet to the inch. See how none of those got affected because of their paper space now. And I can turn right around now and say, I want to go Tools, Save Drawing as a Template. And I'm going to call this CAD 36 by 24 phase drawing. So maybe we've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and that's how I want it annotated and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to save that. So I now have a template ready to roll for that. So I can go into any survey, get rid of all this. In that new survey, I can say I want to start a new drawing and call it phase 1. I want to use that CAD 36 by 24 phase DRT, clear all the traverses, bring everything in, and away I go. I'm ready to do my survey based on this template and just simply update the text and do whatever I need to with that. And I can then say, okay, I've invested all these years in these CAD templates. How can I reuse those in Traverse PC? Well, it's pretty easy to do. I mean, it's not hard at all. Okay, I'm just about out of time, so I want to just come back and talk real quickly then about something I've been doing all day here. When I've been starting a new drawing from a template, Traverse PC always comes into this TPC 2019 templates. And what that is that on any computer, Windows creates a program data folder, and Traverse PC comes down in the program data folder, creates its own subfolder, and then a subfolder for each version. And what I want you to know is that maybe you've set up the templates exactly the way you want, and you've added some of these additional templates in here. The next time you update from Traverse PC 2019 to 2020, Traverse PC is going to ask you, do you want to copy all these forward? Okay, and you'll have those templates tracking with you. If you somehow forget to do that or can't quite figure out how that worked when you installed, you can always come back to program data, and I can copy program data from folder, or I can open that folder and go in and copy things there myself so I can get particular blocks over from another version of Traverse PC or whatever. But these templates then, can be reused over and over again with different versions of Traverse PC if I put them in that program data folder. You also, though, saw me go in and create templates just for a particular survey that I was working on. So I did that inside the Crossroads, and I created a profile and I created a plan. I created a transects back in the program folder because that's something I want to use over and over again. But I also had one in here that I created, which did the same thing just for this particular job. So in this job, I have templates I can reuse over and over again. If I come back and need to do some additional work on it, and this, like I am on this parking project, then I've got those templates handy and ready to go. Or I can leave them back in the program data folder and access them from any surveys and have them copy forward when I update Traverse PC. Okay, let's come back and take a look at our, I think covered that pretty much. Okay, what I'll do is end the seminar here. I'll display that third code for you. Let me bring that up. So now you have all three codes. You can turn in your request for your CEU credits. I'll open it up for questions here in just a minute. I hope this has been helpful. Templates are a great way to save a lot of time if you do a lot of drawings. And I can tell you in our office over there, if you did the field work, you did the drawings. And it was real easy for us then to go in and say, okay, well, let's spend a few minutes on this topo template, so that when we do a topo job, it always includes an elevation datum that needs to be filled out, and it always includes maybe some geoid data that we want to put in there, or a mean sea level ref, or whatever. And so anybody that uses that template gets that consistent information. Just makes us look better. And templates make it real easy to do. Without templates, you're doing a lot of work each time, either copying, pasting boilerplate text in, or adding things, or updating those leader and setback settings. With templates, that all just kind of happens automatically. I want you to be thinking about how valuable these can be for you when it comes to saving time. Okay, thank you for spending your time with us here today. I know your time's important, and I hope I presented information here that you found helpful and will help you as you continue to learn and use Traverse BC.